This is a tutorial on how to create this Japan travel transition. The difficulty level is a 3 out of 5. There are many concepts that we covered in the reel that is called Advanced Travel Transition. And so please reference that tutorial first before watching this one. Then this will become a lot easier to understand. And the techniques used include masking, speed ramping, keyframing, and also a function only in CapCut called custom background removal. So the app that I'll use to demonstrate is CapCut, and I currently believe that custom background removal is only in CapCut. And here are some examples of how to apply it to your niche. Pause to read, and let's get into the tutorial. Okay, let's start with the clips that you'll need to film and some of the techniques involved. The first one starts in the flight, and you want to pull out, and then the person will lean forward, and then the camera person will swipe upwards. It would be best if they can swipe up with some speed, but we can definitely speed it up in post and fix this. So the movement of pulling out here is to add some interest to the very beginning of the reel. With movement and pulling out and then revealing more of the view and more of the context, that makes it more interesting, and people are learning little bits of context as they watch the reel, so it's more engaging. It would be definitely more interesting than just having it static like this and then swiping up. All right. One thing I want to point out is you'll notice that around the edge of the frame, this is quite dark. And the reason is because I had locked the exposure on the window here. And the reason for this is because we're starting the scene from here. So we want to make sure the exposure is already looking good. Another reason is because when we pull out like this, we want to make sure that the phone doesn't automatically adjust the exposure for the inside of the cabin, which relative to the outside is much darker. Because it's so bright outside and the contrast is so huge, if the phone pulls out and then sees that, oh, everywhere else is actually much darker relative to the window, so I must adjust the exposure, it will then make it a lot brighter. First of all, what that does is it makes it lower quality because there's not enough light inside the cabin, and so it has to artificially make it brighter. Second reason, because now the window outside will be too bright and completely overexposed. So that's why you want to lock the exposure when filming this clip. All right, on to the next clip. We continue this movement with the same wipe up from the floor. So this is a floor at the most busy crossing in Shibuya. And so the camera person wipes up like this and then follows me. And then a third person will walk past here. Now, if you're lucky, you can have a stranger walk past and mask it, but I don't recommend it. I think you need a friend to walk by. So this is a little trickier. You'll need a person who can do this wipe from the floor, and you'll need someone who can walk across the screen. So this is slightly more complex when filming, but when we get to the editing, you'll find that it's actually really easy, but together it looks quite impressive. Next clip is continuing that clip, and it goes from this wipe, so right here, where the person wipes across the screen, and we'll use this as a mask to then reveal the next scene, which is this. And notice how when I filmed this, I asked the videographer to keep me roughly the same size as the last frame, which is this. Now there's a little bit of discrepancy. Obviously I'm a bit smaller here, but I wanted to make sure that it's not a huge difference where I'm going from really tiny to really large in the frame, because then that transition will be a bit more jarring. So I tried to also somewhat match the size of me in both of these clips so that it will just be a little bit more smoother. This is not a must. You don't have to match it exactly because that is not the type of transition we're trying to make here, but it does help the viewing experience and make it a lot more pleasant, I guess, or smoother. And so now this camera movement, we go in, we see the tower and wipe from the back. You'll notice that the videographer gave it some speed when wiping from the back, like this, and he went as close as possible, and the purpose of this is so that you can cover the full screen with the clothing like this. And then later we'll explain why, as well as how to connect it to the next clip. So the next clip, I wanted it to come out of Kyoto and reveal another tower. Now this is a temple, and this is a tower. Now because everybody knows these monuments, and these are both very famous destinations. So you have the Tokyo Tower, and then you have Hokkanji Temple. I believe that is the name. And both of these places represent a very, very famous city. And so I thought it would be a really great contrast to go from this red Tokyo Tower, and I also made sure to match my dress color red with the tower red, and this green color with this Hokkanji Temple. And so red and green are two contrasting colors. Together, they make for really interesting visuals. So going from red to green is a really cool like contrast and transition. And so you go from modern to like ancient towers. So that's interesting too. And then from here, we wipe upwards into the sky, and notice he used some speed to wipe up. Like this. Okay? And then the next clip continues from the floor, again wiping up. Notice how I asked him to pull way back and wipe for quite a while. So that's like 2 seconds-ish of wiping. And the reason is because we really want to have enough runway to connect this wipe here into the sky, and this clip here wiping from the floor. And also we did it several times. I believe I used the last final clip, this one. So we go from here, wipe, stop on the person for just 1 second or so, and go up into the sky. Then from the going up into the sky wipe, we wipe again from the floor and come up into, this is Hiei Shrine in Tokyo. And notice how I made sure to ask him to really nicely center me and to really have these nice leading lines in the frame. Now, leading lines is a concept that we talked about, I believe, in lesson 2 about composition, video composition, and it really helps to draw the audience's eye to the center where the subject is. And notice also how I don't have any distracting things in the back. We had to wait for quite a while for all the crowd to disperse before we were able to get it all empty, because this is a long row of stairs and there were lots of people in the back. And for some of the clips, you would see like a little head pop out of the side of my shoulder or the back of my head, and that is visually really distracting. So it took us many tries before we got this final clip. And he also has to practice several times to be able to land in the middle where I am. It's not always easy to be able to land in exactly the right place. So that definitely takes a few tries, and it's totally normal if when you wipe up or wipe in that you don't get the framing right at first and you need to practice a few times. And then again, he wipes, and then for this one, we end here. And what I did was I screenshotted, I believe it was this screen. Yes. It was this screen right here. So I screenshotted this and I put this on another phone. I believe it was my husband's phone. And from here, I put it on his screen and I asked him to go close to the phone and then pull out from the phone to reveal this final view. And that was the end of the reel. So if you want to learn more about how we create this phone pull-out transition, you can go to the lesson called Advanced Travel Transition Compilation that I did for a cruise, Royal Caribbean, and I go really in detail into how to make those and also the filming methods and why and so on. Obviously, I'll mention it here when I'm editing as well, but if you want it more in depth, definitely go check that tutorial out. Now let's input all of these clips in order into CapCut. Now we have to use CapCut to create this transition because there is a masking function or a delete background function that has to be done only inside CapCut, and you'll see why very shortly. So first, I'm just going to go in and start trimming the clips and getting rid of the unnecessary parts. So usually people ask me like, how do I manage my clips? Usually what I do is I stop filming when I know that I have the right clip, which means that when I'm looking for the clips, I know that the last try is usually the best one. And so that saves me a lot of time when I'm sorting through my clips. Okay, so we can end it here. And just crop it off here. And then we begin here. We'll leave that front part and wipe. He finishes the wipe right here, so we can trim it to here and right here. And then this part, he starts moving in around here. And then we can trim this right around where he comes through the back, right here. And then again, we start from the back, roughly when he goes where it covers the full screen and then comes out like this. Wipe up and split here. And you want to split from when the motion starts, like right here. Okay, so delete this first part, come up and go into the sky, split, delete the rest. So again, start from when the motion starts, like this. And I screenshotted this frame, I believe. So you want to split it at the frame that you took a screenshot of. Let's just make sure that is the right screenshot, because if it's not, it will look really jarring. No, it's not. Okay, wait. I think it was, maybe it's the next step. Right here. Yep, so it's this frame. Okay, so from here, we want to trim to the part where the camera starts moving back. So right here, delete the front, get back, and then just end it in the place that you think is appropriate, like right around here. Like this. Okay, now we have all of the clips trimmed. We can start to speed up the clips and connect the two clips. So let's first connect this wipe and this wipe. Now I think this should be able to be fixed with a quick speed ramp, but we can always add a little blend transition in between if necessary. Let's just reduce the speed of the mix so that the duration of the transition is very short, and then it shouldn't affect the clip as much. Boop. Okay, so you can see that it goes in here and then it starts blending here like this. We definitely still need to speed this up because this looks very unnatural. Let's take a look. Okay, so what I would have done differently with this clip if I want to do minimal editing is that when I'm in the airplane and wiping up, I would wipe up faster and then also go even further. The faster you go, the more motion blur, and also the further you go, the more runway you have to blend the two clips together. So that's why the filming matters as well. So since we didn't do that, this is a very slow clip and then it stops really quick, like really soon. Let's go and speed ramp this clip. So go into speed, go to curve, and then choose custom. And you start editing, and you want to just start to speed up here, right, at the end. So let's go to, let's say, 2x because it was quite slow. So let's try that first and see how we can make it work. I mean, that looks already pretty good given the speed ramp. I also think that the pullout speed could be a tiny bit faster, or else it might be a little too slow overall as a reel, and you might lose people's attention. Okay, so that looks good as a clip. Let's take a look. Okay, let's speed this up just a bit more. Okay, so it looks like from here to here, there's a lot of time between the floor. till you see the person. So we're definitely going to speed this up. So let's speed ramp the beginning to say maybe 2x, and then we want to also speed ramp the rest as well. Because when you come here, it's quite a while of walking until the videographer comes in here. So we want to definitely speed that up, or else if people just see you walking away from the camera for like a full 4 seconds, you're definitely going to lose their interest, okay? Let's play this. Okay, that looks pretty good. One more thing I might even do is I would probably go in here and make this darker, this first frame here. And you see how it goes brighter before it corrects the color? So what I would do here is I am going to go in and add a keyframe, and I'm going to use these keyframes to adjust the color. But before I do, I want to adjust the overall color of the entire clip. So before I add the keyframe, let's go into adjust, and let's just, maybe I want to change the blue color because the blue looks oversaturated here. So I'm going to reduce the saturation. I'm going to make it a little bit more like a teal color, maybe increase the exposure just a tiny bit. I'm going to add a little bit of brilliance. Brilliance just decreases the highlights, increases the shadows, and makes it more vibrant. And I'm going to increase the contrast just a tiny bit, and I think it should be warmer. That's just a personal choice. It looks really blue. And then maybe I increase the hue a tiny bit. So let's just have a look. This looks a bit better. It still looks really blue to me. So I'm gonna see what it looks like. Warmer. Okay. Okay, now that I have corrected all of these frames, I'm gonna go in and add some keyframes and adjust the lighting situation where it changes a lot. So let's go to add a keyframe using the diamond button. If you need a refresher on keyframes, just go to lesson 5, or you can watch any other of the tutorials that involve the keyframe concept, and it'll definitely help you. Then let's scroll back in the timeline and go to the part where it's too bright. Like right here, I would say this is way too bright. And add a keyframe. And what we're going to do is we're going to decrease the exposure or the brightness here. And these two keyframes, because we have these two keyframes, what it will do is it will automatically go from the exposure setting here to here. So we want to go in and adjust. Go to brightness, let's see, brightness, and just reduce this. And it should automatically adjust between these two clips, the brightness, like here. So I'm gonna add another keyframe here, because now the in-between parts have become too dark. It looks a bit weird. So I'm going to go from here and then just bring the brightness back. It's a little bit of a trial and error, and you got to sort of test it around a bit before you get to the right amount. And notice how because you made the brightness much darker here, now the floor looks a lot darker, and with it blended to the last clip, it's going to look a lot smoother. Let's take a quick look. Okay, first of all, I think this walking is too fast and looks unnatural. So let me adjust that first. I'm gonna add a beat and then reduce the speed here. Maybe I reduced it too much. Okay. Okay, that looks much better. And then we're going to go to the first clip. I think overall this wipe is still too slow. We got to speed it up a bit. And overall the clip also feels a little slow. That's better. Okay. And then let's play that. Ooh, much better, right? So that looks a lot better. Okay, now we have this guy walking through. So what we're gonna do to connect this clip and this clip is we are going to make another layer and then delete the background from this part. So we're gonna keep him as the person that was walking in front, but delete the background that he is walking in front of. And with the deletion, we will then be able to put this in the background and connect to this clip, okay? So let me show you how to do that. And if it's a bit confusing, if you watch the demonstration, it should become a lot more clear. First, duplicate this. And we want to make this a layer. So we have to go to overlay. Let's find overlay and put it on top. And let's align it because you're matching them and you're deleting the background. Let's make sure it snaps in the right place in the timeline. And then what we also want to do is we want to move this clip forward, because what we have to do right now is this is the base layer, right? This is going to just be playing like this. And then when the guy walks by, his layer, this layer where he is remaining and the background is removed, is going to walk across, and then it will reveal this red dress layer. And so what we want to do is put this red dress layer over this layer. So what we're going to do is go into overlay, and then we're going to move it forward, and it looks like we have to drag it up like this. And we just want to drag this layer upwards, even though in the timeline it's technically on the upper layer. It's not actually on the upper layer until you go into the layer function and reorder the layers. So if you pick 2, it means it's on the top layer. Think of 1 as a bottom layer, 2 as a top layer, 3 as a layer above that. So it counts that way. So you have just moved this one to the top layer, and so you can see now this is on the bottom layer. All right, you can also just move this down if you want so that there's no like a layer. Okay, so now what happens is once he walks through, we're going to then create a mask so that this particular video gets masked in as he walks in, and you'll be able to see this bottom layer video, and then you go into the next clip and transition like this. Now comes the tricky part where you're going to have to remove the background of what's behind him. And so you want to find a frame where you can see most of him and go in and paint it. So I think, let's zoom in on the timeline. I think that doesn't show his front face. This one is a good frame. So let's go into remove background, choose custom removal, and then do the quick brush, and then just brush over him. And yes, this is a pro function, just this particular function. So you will need pay the pro feature to be able to do just this particular wipe. You'll notice that it's not 100% correct. So what you can do is you can go and select the cap like this. Make sure it includes a cap. You can also erase parts because you notice it accidentally got the floor, which honestly isn't a big deal, but we can remove it. You don't have to be super accurate. The purpose of this is that it's supposed to be able to detect the parts that you want to keep, the parts that you don't want to keep, and be able to remove the background accurately. Let's just try and play it real time. I'm not sure if it will be able to play real time, but let's try. Okay, it did. Okay, so you'll notice that I'm like a little phantom in the background and you can see me. Don't worry too much about this right now, because what we want to do right now is we want to mask this red layer so that the left side of him, everything on the left side of the frame of him, we will hide from the red layer. Okay, it will be easier if I show you through the mask. So tap on mask, go to horizontal. Notice how you've already hidden parts of the layer, but it's horizontally. So you want to change it into vertical, and then just move this out. So right now with the mask, you are hiding certain parts of the layer of the red dress. And if you just move it to over here, then you'll be able to hide it. And then now what you want to do is add a keyframe to this mask, because we're going to animate this mask so that this red frame, okay, let me just show you quickly what I mean. If you don't animate the mask and you don't add a keyframe, what's going to happen is as he wipes through, it's a bit delayed, so you're going to see a little bit, you see on the right, you see a little bit of the background because of the mask, because we had put the mask all the way to the right, right? So you're going to see the background here. So what we want to do is we want to animate this mask in as he is walking through the frame. Okay, so the way we do that is we go to the first frame where he starts to walk past and should be revealing the next layer, which is the layer with the red dress. Add a keyframe. As he moves forward, go in and make sure to have the red layer selected. Go to mask and then move this mask. You can also move the angle too, like go like this, yep. And then move it forward. And then just keep doing that with each step as he moves forward. And then right here, we want the mask to end. So what we can do, is just split it. And then from this second part of the clip, we can remove the mask so that you see we don't have this like awkward little feather on the edge. So mask, none. There. So this should wipe through. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, that definitely worked. I just want to make sure there aren't parts that didn't really work. Okay, so we want to also split the first part as well. Let me zoom in so you can see what's going on. So we split the first part and delete this. So now it just starts from here. And also this has accidentally been moved to the top layer. So what you want to do is just go to layer and move it down to the bottom layer. See, now then it's behind the person passing by, and then it wipes through nicely. Okay. Okay, so now that he has walked through, let's split it. Split his clip on the top and delete the rest. Okay, I think that looks fine. It may look a bit delayed. Don't be disturbed because right now this looks so funky. But just trust that when we replay in real time, it will look good. Okay, let's play it in real time and let's hope that the app will catch up and be able to play it properly. It looks pretty good, I think. Just to make sure. Yeah, I think that worked. When you scroll on the timeline, it's definitely really delayed. But when you look at it in real time, it looks fine. I think we may have to export this and just watch it frame by frame just to make sure it is actually functioning correctly. Okay, let's play this slowly. Okay, yes, this worked well. Okay, great. All right, the mask actually worked well. Okay, so now that we know that this mask is working properly, we want to connect this clip in the back to this green clip when it starts over here. So we want to move this part back to the main timeline. And this part is unaffected by all of these overlays, so we can move it back to the timeline. But what we do want to do is we want to make sure to select the right place and trim this before we move it into the main track like this so that it connects right here. Okay, let's just play it, make sure we have it in the right place. Okay, great. So now we want to connect this part with this part. What I would suggest is we can try a blend. For example, maybe we can try the mix, and let's just reduce the number of seconds and let's see how that looks. This could work. I also think we could maybe try like a dip to black, like a black fade. And what it will do is it will go into black and then come out as a black again, like this. Okay, that looks not bad actually. I kind of like this dip black. We need to drag this clip more so there's more space for it, more time for it to dip to black. Okay, let's play that real time. We may need to speed up some parts of the clip. Probably not the red part, but maybe the green part. The beginning of the green part we may need to speed up. So let's speed ramp it and just increase it a little bit. And then let's play it real quick. It's looking pretty good, I think. I think what we want to do is we can maybe make the dip into black a bit longer in duration and try. A lot of this is experimentation. Oh, that looks so much better, right? So I think because the fade to black, I made it 0.4 seconds, so then now it's smoother, not so sudden of a dip to black. Okay. So now we have connected these two clips and it's looking pretty good. If you want, you can speed this up just a little bit, especially the walking part because it was slightly slow. So maybe just a little bit of a speed up. Typically when I'm walking, I try not to speed it up too much because I don't want it to look unnatural, like I'm doing a super fast walk. Okay, great, that looks good. And then now we continue to the next part, which is the whip hand up. So this is again just speed ramping between the clips. I also covered this inside the advanced travel compilation tutorial if you want to check another tutorial for more examples. Basically, you just go into speed ramp and you speed it up. Let's play it. I think it might need speeding up even more. Oh, that's too much. So roughly around maybe 2x and experiment with the speed. That's already looking pretty good. Also, I think in the middle part, it was a little bit slow. So we're gonna speed up the entire clip overall. Okay. That looks great. Now we can speed up this beginning part because there's quite a lot of waiting. And then also we can speed up the end part because again it's another whip up transition. Okay, and for this one I rarely do this, but I'm actually going to slow down the middle part just a teeny bit to 0.8 because I think we didn't film it long enough and I feel like it just transitioned too fast. You barely got to see what happened. Okay. That looks good. Now we continue this part and then it will come out of a foam. But we need to match the foam size with the final frame. Okay, so this part I would definitely speed up. The whip up was already quite fast. Now I'm just going to speed up the clip itself. Oh, that's too fast. The walk looks really unnatural, so let's not speed it up that much. Okay, that looks great. And now onto the last part. We've already covered how to do this inside the Royal Caribbean Cruise reel. So basically what you want to do is just overlay and then drag this forward in the timeline and then now go to the last frame of the bottom clip and you can go to the top clip and reduce the opacity. And now what you can do is add a keyframe and then start matching. So you match the size. So I've mentioned in another tutorial that I like to put the two subjects side by side to match the height, and the reason is because this way I can see it a lot better. If it was overlaid, it's actually quite busy oftentimes. Oh look, that's a perfect match. That looks great. So now what we can do is we can trim this back, and then we can add another keyframe, because you can see how cropped in this is. We don't actually want the whole clip to be cropped in. We only want the first part where it's supposed to match well be cropped in. And then from here we want it to return to normal, right? So we can add another keyframe. Let's reduce the size to normal. Okay, and then let's take a look at how that looks. Oh, we forgot to bring back the opacity, so you gotta bring up the blend. And also because you added another keyframe, so you also gotta bring up the opacity here. All right, so let's play that. Well, that looks really good. Okay, now we can move this to the main track. And that essentially is the whole reel. But let's just play it back so we can double check that everything looks smooth. Okay, that looks great, and speed is correct. And if you want to match it to a song, then you can just with every transition match it to a beat. But this type of transition reel, I find that it's really easy to find music to match to. Okay, so that looks really good. So now the last step is simply to export and find a nice song to match it to.